Back in 2019, I covered my top 10 creepiest classic Yu-Gi-Oh cards, where I went over some eerie Yu-Gi-Oh monsters from the Duel Monsters and GX era. I was originally going to split the other eras into their own lists, like 5Ds and Zexal or Arc 5 and Vrains, but instead, for this volume 2, I just wanted to look at more creepy cards from all over Yu-Gi-Oh's history. There are some more old cards and newer creepy cards I want to look at, so I split them up. Creepy is creepy and Yu-Gi-Oh is Yu-Gi-Oh! So for this video, we're looking at Yu-Gi-Oh cards that are unsettling in their appearance. Creepy doesn't always mean scary though, they could just look off in some regards, maybe even a bit cute, in a creepy way. Also, if some creepy cards are in the same archetype, we'll group them together in a single entry. And joining me is my co-host who loves scary things, Judgment Meter.
I do not like scary things. Maybe that's a different co-host.
Oh, do you still want to be in the video?
Yeah, I still want to be in the video.
Now, let's enjoy the top 10 creepiest Yu-Gi-Oh cards, Volume 2. Number 10, Scary Moth. I'm putting this monster here solely for that name. It proclaims that its only personality trait is that it's scary and a moth, so I'll honor that. I guess when you look at its realistic face and the weird textures on its small legs and abdomen, I could see it as creepy. Doesn't it make you want to say, man, that's a scary moth?
It's cute! Oh, I like it. His arms are out like, hey guys, I know I look big and scary, but I have 6 arms. Give me a hug.
What about those slimy, stringy things coming out of its bottom?
I like to not think about that.
Its name isn't actually scary in Japanese, it's just called scale moth, but based on the pronunciation of English words using Japanese katakana, it's pronounced sukeru mosu, so when localizing the name, they sort of made it a pun on how scale being said as sukeru sounded like scary. I guess the wordplay is still fitting though, since you want to know what's really scary about Scary Moth? Its effect. It only lets you special summon once per turn. No combo plays for you, welcome to Floodgate. However, based on appearance and effect, I actually think Scary Moth gets outdone by a scarier moth in Yu-Gi-Oh! Ghidarla, the mystery dust kaiju. And if you don't know Yu-Gi-Oh! Kaijus, you can special summon them to your opponent's side of the field by tributing one of their monsters, so it gets around those hard to destroy monsters since a tribute does not count as destruction. It's a cost. But for as much as I've used Ghidarla to get rid of those nuisances on my opponent's side of the field, I've never really taken that close of a look at it. I never noticed that its face is kinda creepy. It's got that photorealistic bug thing going on with all those eyes, but also has sharp teeth.
Oh, I like it. He has pretty wings.
The wings are releasing a deadly poison dust. Look how it decimated that city below it. You'll be dissolved in seconds.
I think he's cute.
No, you should fear it.
There's a difference of opinion here.
I don't find it that creepy. It's more that I expected its head to look fluffy and cuddly like Mothra, who it's based on.
Oh, so fluffy.
See, you can't hate Mothra. You can't really hate Ghidarla either, unless it's being used against you.
He has a big pile of floof on his back. We are a big floof fan.
Number 9, Metamorphosis. I was always so focused on Metamorphosis having a strong effect that I never took time to fully absorb its horrifying artwork. The effect lets you tribute a monster, and then you special summon a fusion monster from your extra deck with the same level, no strings attached. Fusion monsters were rarely used in the early game, so Konami just made a bunch of cards that cheated them out of the extra deck for a cost that was usually worth it. But then as fusion monsters got good effects, and more summoning methods were created that could take advantage of a free fusion monster, these types of fusion monster summoning cards were put on the ban list. So now that Metamorphosis has been banned, I can sit back and look at its freaky artwork. It appears this nameless monster is transforming into a werewolf, metamorphosizing even. But usually when something turns into a werewolf in popular media, it just kinda gets hairier and the rest of its body morphs with it. Here though, it looks like the werewolf is under the skin of the monster and it's ripping off its top layer. But it's not just tearing off this layer like it's a rubber mask. The weirdly textured veins are breaking away from the face and body to reveal the wolfman hiding beneath. and this monster is looking at their hands as if they're confused on what's going on as their face stretches off. I can't tell if this transformation is excruciatingly slow, or if we just caught it on an in-between shot that we're not supposed to see, like when you pause a cartoon during a smear frame. Since the point of this card's effect is to turn a monster into a completely unrelated monster, it makes sense why there is such a difference between these two monsters, but they're definitely showing the more gruesome elements that would come with such a contrasting transformation. Also, why did they choose a wolf? There were not many wolf fusions out at the time. Maybe they were trying to turn into Flower Wolf? Honestly, not a bad instant fusion target. This monster was ahead of its time. Number 8. Curse Necrofear. Dark Necrofear has always been a good representation of the original creepy monsters in Yu-Gi-Oh!, being the signature monster of Bakura's Occult deck, and I never know if I'm pronouncing Occult correctly. So to honor her legacy, even though I don't find her that creepy overall, I want to include her on yet another list. I discussed the original Dark Necrofear on my first creepy list, so now it's time to discuss her alternate form that came out after that list, Curse Necrofear. Now Dark Necrofear rarely appeared in other cards or media for over 15 years, just getting the occasional Destiny board reference in video games because Bakura. Curse Necrofear is definitely trying to change that, since she's getting some spooky representation on other cards. First off, Curse Necrofear herself is trying to make the original even creepier by having Necrofear become more ethereal in the artwork. She's fading into the shadows so she can grab you later, or just destroy the cards on your opponent's field. Her effect lets you destroy cards equal to the number of face-up spells and traps that you have up, in reference to how the Destiny board works, a Ouija board mechanic in Yu-Gi-Oh! Where you can search out a letter each turn until final or death is spelled if you have the main Destiny board card up, and then you win. It's definitely not as easy as I just made it sound though, there's a lot of other facets to it. Then Curse Necrofear gets to show off her creep factor on the card Dark Spirit Mastery, where she's in broken shadows pointing at us, possibly damning us to hell, and hey, the effect protects Destiny board, showing her eternal link to it. However, she lost her doll on that card, and as I discussed on the first creepy video, that is what really made Necrofear unsettling, the way that doll laughed and melted in the anime, and in Curse Necrofear, the doll gets a lovely stream of light coming from its eyes, adding to its uncanniness. Yeah, I mean, this is based on the scene where Necrofear and the doll were burning when it was destroyed, so it makes sense why it's so creepy. I also think the doll looks more lifeless than it does in the original. I don't know, maybe it's because Necrofear is holding it closer to the camera on this card.
I think that's her favorite doll from childhood, and she was going through her box of childhood things, and she found her doll, and she's like, oh my god, look, this was my favorite doll from when I was 5. I love this doll. We did everything together, man. We went on walks, we played games, we went to the mall, and hey, it's still here. I think we're gonna hang out now. Okay, thanks, bye.
And finally, she got an appearance on the trap card Sentence of Doom in 2019, once again connecting her to the Destiny board. This is technically the original Dark Necrofear, but it came out around the same time as Curse Necrofear, so I'm grouping them together. Similar to Dark Spirit Mastery, on this card, Necrofear is directing her malice towards us, using the Destiny board to potentially tell us that we lose, as she leans in to say, hey, you want some eternal damnation?
I also found this in my box of childhood things. I'm gonna play it now. Sorry if some weird shit goes down. Not my fault. Sorry guys, bye.
I don't want her to leave me alone with the actual Destiny board.
Yeah.
Number 7, Call of the Grave. Yu-Gi-Oh! Has a lot of random ghouls on their cards, whether they're a shadow, a gravedigger, or just hungry. But one unnamed ghoul that was always unsettling to me was the green guy on the trap card Call of the Grave. I'm not quite sure what it is about him, but he's always kinda creeped me out. I think it's because he's so close to the camera, it looks like he's mid-jump scare after someone clicked on a phony link.
I mean, creepy, but not the creepiest. He only has one mouth.
Don't spoil later entries on this list.
Oh, I feel like he would be in one of those haunted scary rides, and the roller coaster would go in his mouth and never return. Surprise, you're in the Shadow Realm!
Also, the implication of this card's effect is kinda creepy when you you think about it. It specifically counters Monster Reborn, where if your opponent activates Monster Reborn, you negate it, implying that when you try to revive your monster, this guy comes out of the graveyard instead, gets in your face, and tells you that your monster is staying dead. This was part of a series of trap cards made specifically to counter powerful spells in the game, like Anti-Regeki for Regeki, White Hole for Dark Hole, and Griffin Wing for Harpy's Feather Duster. All these cards were bad, since you could just run a generic spell negate with a minor cost, instead of a trap that would be useless if your opponent doesn't run those specific cards that it lists, so these types of traps were dropped. However, Call of the Grave was the worst of them, since the rest of these cards at least had counter effects like destroying your opponent's cards in response, so Call of the Grave was literally just saving you a discard cost over Magic Jammer. Final note, based on the name of this card and the color of the ghoul, I think this is the real identity of the infamous Green Hand on Called by the Grave, a powerful card that banishes a monster in your opponent's graveyard and negates the effect of any monster with that name until the end of the next turn. And this whole time, I just thought the Green Hand was a guy who was perpetually buried, but it turns out he used to be above ground and then realized he was more useful underground, pointing at people menacingly.
Why is Moses there? Stop scaring Moses. He's lived a hard life.
I want to know why no one's helping him. Is he not screaming or saying something about the hand coming up from underground? Why are these people not reacting? What's going on at this event?
Do you guys not see that? But I'm digging his color scheme. That purple and blue, so rocking it. He's a very fashion forward old man.
He does get dragged down into the grave by the foolish burial hand, so maybe as soon as he makes a noise, someone else takes him down, and that's why no one reacted. Number 6, the Worm archetype. Before we had worms, we had worms, and they had this uncanny feeling to them. While they have a lot of creepy aspects, they also felt like they could be harmless enough where I would imagine them only to be like half a foot tall and could be kept as pets. You know, they're a cute kind of creepy. They have strange facial features or bodily compositions where I don't know what they would do if they came close to me, but I feel like they would be a friend in the end. They also look like they would vomit everywhere.
They're so cute, I love them.
And for whatever reason, Konami decided to make 26 of these right off the bat, one for each letter of the alphabet, because that's a fun theme. The only real good ones were Zex and Yagan for X and Y, along with the Worm Trap, but the rest weren't really that good. Still, they're fun to look at. For the creepiest, I'm leaning towards Worm Ugly, not so much for the name, but because it has this dripping goo coming out of its mucus skin that's starting to engulf its eyes, alongside its inverted mouth. It's just a floating ball of gross.
So sad. He's kind of cute though. These poor worms.
Okay, fine, I getcha. Maybe Worm Milledith, because it won't stop vomiting, and when I zoom out, its mouth kinda looks like a leaking eyeball.
These are funny names. I like these. These are weird.
How about this one? It's leaking tar for some reason.
He's a sludgy bird, wants to take flight, but has stumbled upon a tar pit.
Maybe the pyramid guy?
I don't know what's happening here. He's definitely doing something.
Also, yes, I know about the censorship on Worm King. Tragic. Number 5, Grave Robber's Retribution. Plenty of Yu-Gi-Oh cards show a horrifying scenario taking place where people are about to be killed in gruesome ways, where it appears the art is depicting the scene a few seconds before the most violent part occurs. One of these types of cards that's always been creepy to me was Grave Robber's Retribution. I don't know what it is about this card, but I think it's the lighting and how close together everything is to each other that makes it feel uncomfortable. This Grave Robber is about to be mauled by these 3 mummies, and we tune in when he's about as close as he can to being 100% caught. Like his hands are creating the only distance between himself and the wandering mummies. This guy is screwed in about 3 seconds. And the lighting makes you feel like you're in pure darkness, with that single candle being the only thing that lets you see your doom. I wonder what this guy did to piss off these mummies so much.
He's a face eater. He's jealous of other people's skin because he doesn't have any skin, so he likes to eat other people's skin so they don't have any because he's jealous of their skin. If I can't have skin, no one else can.
Oh, I never took them to be the jealous type. I just thought it was because this guy was a grave robber and they were giving him his retribution for robbing those graves. This card appears to be the continuation of the scene on Mirage of Nightmare, so this dude basically saw this coming. Also, very different cards in terms of effect. Retribution just inflicts a minuscule 100 points of damage for each banished monster that your opponent has, while Mirage lets you draw until you have 4 cards in your hand, with the only drawback being that you have to discard however many cards that you drew thanks to this effect during your next standby phase. However, you don't have to suffer that drawback if you destroy Mirage before you have to pay, which players would do to get around it, leading to them getting free cards and eventually getting the card banned. That's also how Jaden did it in the Yu-Gi-Oh! GX anime too. He uses emergency provisions to destroy Mirage of Nightmare after he gets the draws, but before he has to discard. A surprising pro strategy from Jaden in coincidentally creepy episodes. He did this strategy against Titan, the Gravekeepers, Jinzo's Ghost. GX had its fair share of creepiness, like those episodes, the Yubel stuff, Alice the Wandering Doll. Note to self, put Doll Chimera on the next creepy list. Number 4, the Fright Furs. Fright Furs are a bunch of mutated sentient stuffed animals that were once normal stuffed animals called Fluffles, but then they were cut into by various demonic sharp objects called Edgeimps to create these Frankenstein's monster creations, though I never really found them to be that creepy on their own. The big eyes are kinda cute, but the real reason that they're on this list is because my co-host finds them disturbing, so have at it.
You know what? Maybe I don't hate the Fright Furs, I just hate the person who made them, because they started off as good stuffies, and then they were turned into soulless creatures.
Well, technically that would be Sora from Arc 5 since he fused monsters to create them, so I guess you can blame him.
Is this a terrible, terrible person?
Yeah, he's got a redemption arc.
So far, I don't like you.
I don't know. I feel that the large, cute eyes of the Fright Furs counteract their horrifying scars. Though I guess Dangerous Fright Fur Nightmare doesn't have those eyes, so we can always say that she's the creepiest of them all.
Wait, this one's not so bad. The ones that actually look like stuffies are worse. This one I kind of like.
But its face is so lifeless and it has the abyss in its abdomen. What does she have that Fright Fur Bear doesn't?
Why would you do that to a bear?
What, stab it or fuse it with a demon?
But like, why? Why would you? And there's like a little demon creature inside of him.
The demon is the scissors.
I don't...
Is Fright Fur Sheep at least okay?
Why? Why is it flying? Why are there chains? And what are its arms?
They're a cool-ass hook and buzzsaw now.
You know, or it could have had its regular arms.
What, would you prefer the normal, boring arms of Fluffle Sheep instead?
Yes, it's adorable, 100%.
But I can get you the Fright Fur Sheep for free.
No, I want that fluffy thing.
The wolf?
I don't like that. That does not make me happy.
The whale?
I don't like that. It looks like it's wearing the skin of a whale.
How about Fright Fur Leo?
He has a round saw, and then round saws around the round saw, and blades for this is not a child's toy. That little boy hurt those poor animals.
Okay, what about the Daredevil? That's not even an animal.
Why is the devil in a diaper? Well, you know, I'm glad he's wearing underwear. I feel like that's okay.
And shoutouts to Fright Fur Chimera, which just shows the Fluffles being stabbed and not transformed, which has an extra layer of creepiness to me.
Oh no, I like this. This is funny.
What? Why?
They look happier here. And look, there's like pretty colors in the background.
But these are still mutated Fluffles.
Look, they're taking happy vengeance on the world that mistrusted them and that shunned them, and now they're bringing about a new era of fluff and anvils.
Well, that's the Fright Fur archetype. If you don't like most of them, you'll at least find one that you love.
I like Fluffles.
Number 3, Anteater Eating Ant. This card has a lot of layers to it. It's clever with the name, it's cute with the side characters, but most importantly, it's horrifying with the main monster. This is a giant ant with all these spikes coming out of it and a mouth that has sharp teeth flying everywhere. Not to mention whatever that purple texture is inside the mouth and the drool. The mouth feels like it's about to go all xenomorph on me. And we know this ant is giant because we have a normal anteater to show the scale of size, who's about to be the dinner for this ant.
Oh no, I don't like this. This makes me sad. I love this anteater. The tables have been turned. I like the irony. I don't like the reality.
And what helps make this terrifying is this monster isn't alone. There's a whole horde of these ants. I can't tell if the main one is larger than the rest, or if the others are just in the distance, but they're all this tall when up close. If it's the latter, I feel really bad for this anteater. Though it's only one anteater, what are the rest of the ants gonna eat? That's not much meat for the whole army. I respect the anteater for just looking moderately nervous in this scenario. I'd be all out screaming with bowel-voiding fear if these ants approached me. He's just like, oh, this is bad. Maybe I should sneak out of here. Sweat drop. Perhaps he's not that scared since he knew this could happen. He was already eating ants from an anthill, so these ants that eat anteaters are now coming for revenge, making the anteater the provocateur. That being said, the anteater eating ant is still an ant at the end of the day, so maybe this anteater can be the underdog and eat this giant ant with its tongue like Yoshi would.
I love him. There's so many layers. Like, I'm gonna still try to eat you. I don't think it's gonna work, but I'm gonna try.
I also like that the blue lines on the ant's face make it look like it's part earthbound immortal.
I know, right? And you know how I feel about them.
Oh, come on. What did the Dark Signer's ace cards ever do to you?
I can't. They are quite big, with long names.
What about Kokapakapu?
No. Nope.
How about Uru or Karaya?
Yeah. Konami orbs. Yeah.
Even the whale?
Okay, that's kind of cute.
Number 2, outer entity Nyarla and Azathoth. I feel like these ones speak for themselves. They went all out with the horror elements here. The shading, the lighting, the tentacles mixed with unknown parts of the body, the hands, the eyes that look like they're emerging from under the flesh, and of course the mouths, the many mouths. Which mouth is your favorite?
Aw, the baby one? That one's cute.
Yeah, I was gonna say that one too. It sticks out the most.
I like the one on the top that looks like it's going,
I've generally heard people describe these card designs as something not from Yu-Gi-Oh, like saying that they look more like Magic the Gathering cards. And while they definitely look different from your standard Yu-Gi-Oh fare, modern Yu-Gi-Oh has plenty of designs that you wouldn't guess are from Yu-Gi-Oh just by looking at the art, like the cute pastels of Melfi or the panty and stocking art style of Live Twins. Nyarla and Azathoth just go the opposite direction of those cards in terms of art style, having that Lovecraftian horror style to them that you don't see from many other Yu-Gi-Oh cards outside of something like Tindangles. Though if you look at early Yu-Gi-Oh cards, they do have that dark fantasy aesthetic to them, so Nyarla and Azathoth ultimately fit in. They're just more detailed in terms of art style. It's a shame we didn't get many other monsters that have this level of horror to them. They're a part of a series of 6 extra deck monsters based on Lovecraftian entities, but these are the only outer entities based on horrifying monsters with similar names from the Cthulhu mythos. The rest of the Yu-Gi-Oh entities are either not as creepy giant monsters called old entities, or humanoid monsters called elder entities, so I feel that we're missing out by not seeing Yu-Gi-Oh go as crazy as they did with Nyarla and Azathoth with other entity monsters. Though, shoutouts to Elder Entity Entis, because she lets you pop a card when she's sent to the graveyard, which works with all those cards that let you send a card from your extra deck to the graveyard. For number 1, I chose what I felt were the creepiest cards past the Duel Monsters era. This archetype embodies the creepy nature of many earlier Yu-Gi-Oh cards, which the series started to move away from as new sets came out. Number 1, the Gimmick Puppets. It's easy to make antique dolls creepy, just remove some of their features or add appendages that they don't need, or better yet, both, which the Gimmick Puppets do. The general visual layout of the Gimmick Puppets are puppets with missing facial features or body parts, and then fuse them together with other puppets similar to them, or with other random inanimate objects. The Gimmick Puppets that have a standard doll's body composition are the least creepy to me, like I can get behind Humpty Dumpty or Egghead. Even Dreary Doll is kinda cute. I actually feel bad for her since she's all bandaged and bloody, which is the point of her being creepy since she's rising from a coffin uncensored, but still, I hope she feels better. But then you get to the more monstrous of the Gimmick Puppets, like Destroy, a bunch of featureless, dismantled mannequins combined to form some weirdly shaped creature. I guess it's a horse made out of bodies.
Is it cleaning its own ass? What? I don't...
What? It's a bunch of human-shaped bodies combined to form something not human-shaped. That's unsettling, right?
Sure.
Okay, how about Shadow Feeler? Look at them weirdly on all fours as they, hold something with their heads. I guess that's a shadow, and this is how they feel it.
What?
Listen, something about it's just kinda eerie. I don't know.
These are not as bad as Breakfast.
Fine, then tremble before the aptly named gimmick puppet nightmare. Look at those two screaming human heads as they're attached to a giant lump of doll bodies that are also covering their eyes from seeing the monstrosity that is this nightmare.
They like mannequins put together, but there's like two people heads. Head on head and ass, with arms and ass and head.
Tough crowd. Then how about their anime ace monster gimmick puppet giant grinder?
What the hell is that? I don't find it scary. It's just his crotch is a chair.
Okay, fine. I always found him to look a little goofy, but they made him more scary in the anime, where his effect that destroys special summoned monsters involves him absorbing them and grinding them to dust with his built-in grinder as their duelists watch in horror.
Oh my god, you can do skee ball in his chest. This is like an amusement park, no way.
No, that's the grinder, that's the scary part. Though he has gotten less creepy to me ever since I noticed that there was a little dude on top of him controlling the puppet.
Aw, that's his friend. He's the mastermind of this operation.
Alright, fine. If none of these monsters are doing it for you, are there any gimmick puppets that you could consider the creepiest of them all?
Oh, Terror Baby. Go to Terror Baby.
Actually, yeah, giving a baby demonic powers does have an extreme creep factor to it. So you know what? Let's say gimmick puppet Terror Baby is the creepiest gimmick puppet of them all. Tell him, Judgment Meter.
There's so many things wrong with that. Just so many things wrong with that. First, the stroller is a teeth mouth, like Jaws, and inside like a fleshy mouth tongue. Then the wheels are legs, but many, many legs. Then the baby is a doll with one seemingly working eye, maybe, who's stitched up. What?
Overall, the gimmick puppets are some of the creepiest things Yu-Gi-Oh! Has produced and are only held back by how they are outclassed by meta decks. But hey, free rank 8XCs. So by being the creepiest cards of the Zexal era and potentially Yu-Gi-Oh! As a whole, the gimmick puppet archetype tops this creepy list. Now, what did you think? Did all these cards have that famous creep factor to them, or were some of them more tame than you remember? And what other creepy Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards lurk in the shadows of your mind? Let us know in the comments. Anyway, thank you all for watching, and we will see you in the next video.